Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful and profound books of the 20th century, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning.
The last of the human freedoms. To choose one's attitude. Just think about that for a second. This powerful idea that our inner freedom can never ever be taken away is really the heart of everything we're going to talk about today.
Now, this wasn't some abstract theory thought up in a comfortable study. No, to really get it, we have to go where Frankl went, right into the heart of a Nazi concentration camp.
See, Frankl was a trained psychiatrist, and even in these horrific conditions, he was an observer. He watched the psychological journey of his fellow prisoners and started to see a predictable, tragic pattern in how people reacted to their new reality.
The moment they arrived, everything that made a person who they were was just systematically destroyed. Your job, your clothes, your family photos, your name, all of it, gone. As you can see here, you went from being an individual to just a number, literally tattooed on your skin, a naked existence.
And he saw that inmates went through three really distinct psychological phases. First, there was shock, just pure disbelief that a place like Auschwitz could even exist. That was followed by a deep, protective apathy. And then, and this is maybe the most surprising part, came this profound disillusionment after they were freed.
And that second phase, apathy, it's such a key insight. You might think of it as weakness, but it wasn't. It was a kind of psychological armor. When you're surrounded by constant death and brutality, the mind has to build this protective shell just to survive the day.
So that leads to the central question of the entire book. When you have absolutely nothing left, not even your own name, why keep going? What could possibly make life worth preserving?
Frankl's answer to that very question led him to this pivotal concept, a whole new school of psychotherapy he called logotherapy. He actually challenged Sigmund Freud, who was the giant in his field. Freud said our main drive is the will to pleasure. But Frankl looked around and said, no, that can't be right. Our deepest, most fundamental drive is the will to meaning. It's not about feeling good, it's about having a reason to feel it all.
And this core idea is the very foundation of logotherapy. It's the belief that our primary concern in life is to find and fulfill a purpose. For Frankl, this wasn't just a theory. It was what he observed, day in and day out, was the key to survival itself. This quote from Nietzsche really just nails it. Frankl saw it with his own eyes. The people who made it through often had some future goal holding them steady. Maybe it was the hope of seeing a loved one again, or a book they needed to finish. Having that why gave them the strength to bear almost any how.
And the tragic proof was right there in the numbers. The chief doctor in the camp pointed out to Frankl that the death rate spiked like crazy in the week between Christmas of 1944 and New Year's of 1945. Why? Because so many had been clinging to this naive hope they'd be home for the holidays. And when that hope vanished, their bodies just gave up. Okay, so this is the crucial point, right? If having a why is the key to survival, how on earth did people find this life-sustaining meaning in a place that was basically defined by meaninglessness?
Well, Frankl identified three distinct paths. First, through your work, by creating something or doing a good deed. Second, through love. Just the image of a person you loved could be a kind of salvation. And third, and this was the most important one for a prisoner, it was found in the attitude you take towards suffering you simply cannot change.
This story of a young woman finding real comfort in a tree outside her barracks window is just a perfect example. I mean, the first two paths, creating something or being with a loved one, those were often totally impossible in the camp. But this third path, choosing your attitude toward your suffering, that always remained. She found profound meaning not by changing her fate, but by changing how she chose to face it.
This power, this ability to choose our attitude, even when everything else is gone, it all builds into Frankl's powerful philosophy for living. He called it tragic optimism.
So Frankl argues that real optimism isn't about pretending life isn't tragic. It's about facing what he called the tragic triad, pain, guilt, and death, head-on and finding meaning within them. You can turn suffering into an achievement, you can turn guilt into an opportunity to become a better person, and you can see life's fragility as a reason to act responsibly.
And this brings us to a crucial point Frankl made after the war. Being free is really only half the story. For a lot of liberated prisoners, freedom by itself wasn't enough. Without a purpose to guide it, it could just lead to bitterness and a whole new kind of emptiness.
He argued that freedom is always in danger of just becoming randomness unless it's lived with responsibility. The ultimate human freedom isn't just to be free from things, but to be responsible for something, for finding and fulfilling our own unique purpose. And that, right there, is the ultimate search for meaning.